Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Security Pulse. I'm Taha Sajid. For those of you who are joining for the first time, we are the go-to resource for cybersecurity content as well as emerging technologies. We do podcasts, we run boot camps, we provide different cybersecurity solutions to keep you updated and to protect the bad guys within your services. Today we have a special guest joining us. We have Srikanth Mandru with us. He needs no introduction. He's an information security architect, with Cisco systems. He has been working in the telecommunication space for over like 10 years now. Have contributed to different communities. He has written papers, like conference presentations. So he has contributed significantly to the community. Overall strengthening the cybersecurity posture. And his contributions not only restricted to identity access management and privilege access management. He has also has done good work and for network segmentations for zero trust securities. Overall, I'm really impressed to how he has like contributed in the cybersecurity community. And with this, the topic, what we'll be discussing in this podcast today is basically how you can enhance cybersecurity resilience, through automated network segmentation. Uh, network segmentation for me, it is basically gives three main things. One is it will restrict like the lateral movement inside the network, which is very important. If there is a cyber attack coming in, you need to restrict to where the attacker can go. It can gives you that compliance sort of, like enable compliance. So for any compliance framework, for example PCI DSS or HIPAA or any main frameworks, they mandates network segmentations in your network, and it will gives you like that security posture what you're looking for. So this is a very important topic. And uh, I'm honored to have Srikanth with me to tell us about how we can automate all this, right? So this is a very important and fundamental uh, like requirement in every organization. So it will be a fun-filled, interesting session. And we are really looking forward to it. Over to you, Srikanth. If you can share your screen.
Sure. Yep. Sharing the screen. Yep. Okay.
Yes,
Can you?
your screen is visible. Yes, yes,
Okay.
it's all
Yep.
good. Over
Yep.
to you.
Yep. So, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Today, I will be discussing auto isolation, an innovative cybersecurity approach. That is designed to enhance the resilience against the cyber threats. Here is a quick outlook, what we'll cover in this webinar today. So first, we'll start with a brief overview of what is auto isolation is, and why is it's essential tool for today's cybersecurity landscape, right? Especially with the rising sophisticated threats. Then we'll dive into the key components. Next we'll explore the technologies that covers the auto isolation, like AI, machine learning, and SDN, which allows us to isolate and contain the threats in real time. Next, I'll give you I'll show various I'll show various sectors like finance, healthcare, manufacturing, and government. How we can protect these industries by using the auto isolation. Then we'll look into how auto isolation reduce the response times, lightens the load on the cybersecurity teams and strengthens organization overall security posture. Then finally, we'll discuss some of the challenges, some of the challenges that related to the implementing the auto isolation, along with exciting future potential as potential for proactive cybersecurity strategy. By the end, you will see how auto isolation can transform the cybersecurity resilience, helping the organizations uh, keep threats contained and operated in a steady in keep contained operation in the steady manner, in ever evolving the threat landscape, right? Let's dive in. Okay, so first I'll introduce myself, Srikanth Mandru. I'm currently working as a lead information security engineer at Cisco Systems. I have around 10 years of experience in cybersecurity with major focus on identity access management, privileged access management, and endpoint security. So apart from my professional experience, I have done research on various cybersecurity topics that mainly including artificial intelligence, machine learning, and AI for threat detection. These are the key contributions, over my past few years of my research. You know, apart from my research, I'm also part of the few working groups like Cloud Security Alliance, IEEE, Security Pulse, etc. So that's pretty much it about myself. And let's dive in. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. First, introduction to auto isolation. Okay. All right. Let's jump right in. Today, we are talking about auto isolation. I would say it's a bit of game changer in cybersecurity. So let's look into what is auto isolation, right? Or simply put, it's a cybersecurity mechanism that acts automatically, right? Imagine, imagine a network that can section itself off like a closing of a doors in a building when it detects a threat, right? The goal is to stop attacks in their tracks. There shouldn't be any waiting around, right? So the question is, why do we need it, right? Well, cyber threats are very fast these days, sophisticated, and really, really crafty. Then what about the traditional defenses, right? Yes, we do have the traditional defenses, but they are not just quick enough, right? Often we're left reacting after the damage is already done. So auto isolation offers something better. Basically, it responds the moment something off, right? Keeping the threats isolated before they can cause any harm to the network, right? I would say it's a very proactive approach. In today's world, it's going to play very, very crucial role, right? Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so let's move on to the problem what we are trying to solve here. We are seeing we are seeing more cyber attacks than ever before. Okay, they're getting smarter and becoming more complex. Hackers aren't just barging in and out, right? They're moving through the networks, adopting and using advanced techniques to get what information they want, right? And, and traditional security methods we follow, well, it's static. It's built on a set of rules, often catch like what is known issue, what is known threat, but the traditional security struggles to adopt new unforeseen threats. So now, why is that a problem, right? Traditional security measures are usually reactive by the time we detect and respond, right? We're often sometimes too late. Think of it like, locking the door as a thief is already in, right, in the house. Plus, managing security in these scenarios will be a lot of manual work, especially with the traditional security. It's very intensive, and in large attacks, right, it's almost impossible for us to quickly respond quickly, right? So the question is, what is the alternative now, right? So a fast automated response is required here. That is where the auto isolation comes into the picture, right? So it can act instantly. uh, it can isolate the threats before they can spread and reduce the damage, and it helps us to keep the network safe with minimal manual intervention. That's what we're trying to accomplish with this auto isolation. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, let's dive into what makes auto isolation as a tick, right? There are few key components here, right? First one is like artificial intelligence and machine learning. So I would say they are the brains behind this operation, like analyzing the huge amount of the data in real time. uh, it will spot like anything that is unusual. This means, right, the system can differentiate between the real threat. It has the ability to differentiate between the real threat and say like it could be a spike related to the busy workday network traffic, right? So it has the ability to detect like it's that smart. So at the same time, artificial intelligence also helps us reduce the false error. algorithms, right? This is very important because we cannot keep on take the alarm for every small issue, right? So we are not constantly segmenting, segmenting the network over these non-issues. So to do this, we're going to take like a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning help here. I would say this is one of the main key component for the auto isolation section. Then we all know software-defined networking. Think of SDN as a flexible layer that has the ability to control how network behaves, right? So it allows for the dynamic segmentation. So if there is a threat, right, SDN can isolate the affected parts of the network. It will help us the rest continue unaffected. So that SDN also another key component here. Now, and also the scalable architecture is very important thing because by breaking down the auto isolation system into the smaller independent components, right? So especially using the microservices, we can make it easier to update and scale as the threats available. So especially the containerization tools like Kubernetes, it will allows these components to operate in an isolated manner and helps us to reduce the downtime and making the updates or patches smoother and quicker. The another key piece is basically the robust security measures. So auto isolation uses a layered approach. So it follows the principles like zero trust, which requires every action to be verified, monitored, ensuring there is no unauthorized access. So robust security measures is also another key component here. Lastly, the continuous monitoring and adoption. So this system integrates with the security operation systems. We call it SOC, right? To say, to stay on top of the threats that's happening in the real time, right? The SOC and the automated feedback mechanism helps us to refine the system over the time, meaning it actually learns from the past incidents and it continuously improve as it goes, right? Continuous monitoring and adoption is also another key component for the auto isolation. Next, let's go to the next slide, right? Okay. Intelligent decision-making algorithm. Okay. Now let's talk about the smarts, right? The intelligent decision-making algorithms. First, machine learning in threat detection. ML algorithms are trained on network behavior, spotting both known and unknown threats by recognizing a pattern, right? So if a hacker, let's say if a hacker tries a new technique, there is a good chance the ML will still catch it, right? Then we have the threat intelligence feeds, these are real time updates on the latest threats, the system stays informed about what's out there, what tools they're using, and how they're getting in, helping to stay on one step ahead. The another powerful tool is ensemble learning techniques. So by using these different type of ML models together, we can definitely improve the accuracy. Think of it like having a panel of expert, right? Each one specializes in a different area, making it much less likely will be something important because of the all these models working together. So these algorithms also the context aware, meaning they don't treat every alert as a crisis, right? So instead, they look for factors like time of the day, user activity, and other context clues, based on the information we feed. Then it decides on the best response. If it is a high risk, they act fast, and if it is a low risk, they might just alert and send. They might alert and monitor, right? Finally, these algorithm also uses the feedback mechanisms. They learn from each incident and adjust their criteria, improving with each threat they encounter. Uh, so over the time, these systems are becoming a self-improving security defense mechanism. So, okay, these are the intelligent decision-making algorithms. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. architecture and scalability, right? So now let's look at what's behind the scenes. The architecture and scalability of an auto isolation system, the first thing is it's a microservices architecture. Imagine, right, breaking down the whole system into a smaller independent parts, right? Each one is responsible for a specific task, like like monitoring or segmenting, like it has a specific task, like each service. This modular design means, like if one part has an issue, it doesn't bring down the whole system. It's like each piece is doing its job independently, right? So which helps us to improve the fault tolerance and resilience at the same time. And because of each component can scale individually, we can really handle the high demand times, like without overwhelming the whole system. Like uh, it's very efficient, and it's a lot flexible when you compare it with the traditional architectures. Now, the containerization with Docker and Kubernetes together, right? So the Docker and Kubernetes comes into, once we put the containerization into the picture, right? It makes the things even better. By using these containers, right? Each service runs on its own, right? Uh, it's a self-contained environment, like Docker and Kubernetes make sure these containers play nicely together, and it helps us to allocating the resources nicely to each container, like based on its consumption. Kubernetes even it has the capability to handle the failovers as well, right? It can automatically load balance the system, and it can scale up, scale down based on the traffic spikes. Like, uh, it will even make, it helps us to, it will helps us to deploy the, any patches, like, doing the deployments. This Kubernetes will help in that area. Then we have the CI/CD pipelines, obviously. So this might sound technical, but really it just means updates and patches are deployed fast enough, right, without even downtime. So CI/CD, it will definitely helps us to fix the security issues right away, keeping the system up to date and resilient. So let's moving on to the SDN, software defined networking. This is like a nerve center of our network traffic, right? So it has the centralized control. When a threat shows up, we can isolate it immediately without needing any manual intervention. SDN can reconfigure on the fly. Uh, you know, uh, it gives us the fast automated response to protect the network as fast as possible. Then the system is also designed with, like auto isolation system is also designed with to work with the cloud native components, like which makes it even super flexible. Being on a cloud native means, like the system can scale easily across the different environments, whether it could be on premises, whether it could be cloud or a hybrid environment. This adaptability keeps us ready for the complex and evolving network needs. So another important point is high availability and fault tolerance. Auto-isolation systems are built with redundancy, meaning if one part fails, another one takes over. This self-healing capability keeps things running smoothly, like without manual fixes every time there is an issue. So the next one is finally the scalability to meet the growing needs, right? So as our network grows, this system scales right along with it. Its architecture is future ready, so we are prepared for both current and the future security challenges. So to wrap this up, right? The architecture and scalability of auto isolations are designed for resilience and flexibility, right? This system can grow alongside any organization, adapting to changing the security requirement and ensuring the consistent production over the time, right? So that's about the architecture and scalability of the auto isolation. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, next, implementation challenges. Okay, now, even though auto isolation sounds great, right? It's not without its own challenges, right? Let's walk through some of those challenges. Okay, and we'll discuss them. The first thing is compatibility with legacy systems. So many organizations have a mix of old and new technology, right? So each with its own quirks, making making auto isolation work smoothly. Uh, with legacy systems often require customization, right? It's a bit like trying to fit a modern key into the old lock. So the lack of interoperability can create a data swells, limiting the system's effectiveness, right? Then there is a challenge of balancing false positives and negatives. So false positives can disrupt operations unnecessarily, while false negatives means missing the real threats. Like finding the right balance between these, to find the right balance definitely takes some fine tuning, but it is very essential for maintaining both security and productivity, right? The next one is scalability limitations. Okay, scalability limitations. I would say scalability limitations are another hurdle. Scaling auto isolation to monitor large networks demands a significant amount of resources. As the network grows, so does the need for more computing power and budget, right? It's a big challenge to ensure the system can keep up with the diverse and expanding traffic without breaking the bank. So next, the organizational resistance. It can be a big factor. So not everyone comfortable with handling over control to automation, right? So auto isolation definitely require a shift from manual to automated responses. Some teams might feel uneasy about this change. A proper training and building confidence in the technology are crucial, very crucial here. Another point to consider here is managing and mitigating the system errors. Like any software, auto isolation can encounter bugs or outages, right? So, including the self healing and redundancy capabilities essentials to keep the system up and running. But these features can be complex and resource intensive to set up. Right? This is also another key challenge. The next one is cost of the implementation and maintenance. I would say this is also another big factor because uh, there are initial investments to technology and infrastructure, and auto isolation system definitely needs the continuous updates and the tuning to remain effective against evolving threats, right? Small and medium-sized enterprises might find these cost challenging, so it might be a challenging for the small and mid-sized enterprises. Lastly, legal and compliance considerations. Automated systems must adhere to industrial regulations for sure, especially in the sectors like finance, healthcare. The data privacy laws like GPDR and HIPAA requires very careful handling. So the auto isolation system need to ensure the secure data processing, right, and storage to stay compliant with these regulations. Well, in short, while auto isolation offers a significant benefits, uh, overcoming these challenges is key to the very successful implementations, right? So by addressing these technical, budget, and organizational concerns, we can maximize the impact of auto isolation on the cybersecurity resilience. Okay, those are the key implementation challenges. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, real world applications. Okay, all right. Let's dive into some real world applications of auto isolation, right? So where we can see its practical benefits across the different systems and different industries. The first thing is the banking and financial services. Banks deal with enormous amount of sensitive data every day, right? They are I would say they are the constant targets for cyber attacks, right? Imagine imagine a hacker is trying to get into your financial system, right? Here where the auto isolation really shines. When the threat shows up, it can immediately isolate the part of the network and stopping the attacker from reaching to the critical data, right? it's like having a bouncer who automatically keeps the troublemaker out of the network, right? So plus it keeps that small issue from becoming from the it keeps the small issues from becoming a full blown breach. It will help us to protect from that kind of full blown breach scenarios, right? While maintaining the trust with customers, and it will also help to avoid any potential damages. The next one is healthcare sector. Yeah, hospitals and healthcare facilities are handling patient data, which has a very strict privacy regulations, right? Imagine a scenario where a hospital network detects a malware, right? Auto isolation can step in, contain the threat, and it can analyze the malware, and it can prevent it before it's spreading to the essential medical systems, right? It's definitely a peace of mind. It will keep the compromised workstation in an isolated manner, and it won't affect the other system, right? It's it's here the patient safety stays intact, and even under any minor cyber attacks. Then the manufacturing is the next one. So I would say ransomware here is a particularly a nasty thing, because as it can definitely halt the production lines, you know, it will cost millions. It will cost millions for the companies, right? But with auto isolation, unaffected system can be separated immediately, so allowing unaffected parts keep running. So it's like a controlling a small fire before it takes down the whole factory, right? So it is very crucial for the manufacturing industry as well. So the next one is the government and public sectors. So auto isolation is very valuable asset for protecting critical infrastructure. Like, let's say if an intrusion is detected, auto isolation that can definitely quarantine the threat without affecting the other vital services. And I would say this is very crucial for the national security, right? Especially in the government sector and public sector, it is very crucial. Moving on to the energy and utilities, right? So these sectors also handles the very essential services, like power grids. In case of any cyber incident, right? Also, auto isolation can isolate the infected areas, preventing large scale blackouts and keeping the services up and running, right? The auto isolation can help to do that as well here. And lastly, retail and e-commerce. So with the customer data constantly at risk, right? Auto isolation can help us to protect payment information and keep the systems operational even during any cyber attack, right? So the shopping can continue smoothly, without auto isolation can help us to, helps us to customers can shop continue smoothly without compromising the security, right? Yeah, that's how it can help the retail and e-commerce industries. In short, right? I would say auto isolation is a game changer for these industries, helping organizations swiftly, contain the threats, and it will protect the both data and operational continuity. Okay, those are some real world application that we can get benefit from the auto isolation. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, impact on cybersecurity resilience. Okay, now let's look at how auto isolation impacts the overall cybersecurity resilience. So the first thing is faster, faster instant response and threat containment, right? With auto isolation, threats can be contained in real time. There is no waiting for human to step in. This is a key, right? This is a very key in stopping attacks spreading, especially when every second counts. Especially, yeah. So it also means a lighter workload for our cybersecurity teams, right? Imagine how routine isolation takes how routine auto isolation tasks can pile up the queue. Automation takes that, it will take off all those tasks off their plate, right? Now they can focus on the more complex work, like analyzing the threats and building the proactive defenses. So while auto isolation can handle all these tasks. Then we have the enhanced data protection and privacy. By isolating the compromised segments, sensitive data remains protected even if there is a breach, right? This is this is especially critical for industries like finance and healthcare, you know, because they handle personal information under very strict regulations. The next one is operational continuity is another big one. So auto isolation allows here unaffected systems will be keep on up and running, ensure that minimal disruption to core services, right? So customer won't even know like if there was an incident, right? So it will help us with the operational continuity. So another big one is the cost savings, right? By by containing the threats early, companies can save a lot of money on the recovery costs. It can help us to minimize the downtime, and it will even helps us to reduce the compliance penalties associated with breaches. So there's a lot of cost saving with this auto isolation feature. Lastly, it will strengthen the overall security posture. So auto isolation continuously learns from the incidents, getting better, getting better at detecting and containing the threats. Right, they're continuously learning from the data, and it's getting better on the day by day. And it will, at the end of the day, it will build a proactive cybersecurity culture within the organization. So that's the impact on the cybersecurity. Let's go to the next slide. Yeah. Okay. Conclusion and future outlook. Okay. To wrap this up, right, let's recap the benefits of auto isolation, right? It's a proactive defense mechanism, right? This technology segments the compromised network section instantly, limiting the spread of the attacks and reducing the potential damage. And also, it strengthens the cybersecurity resilience, right? It enables the faster responses and allowing the businesses to handle even the most sophisticated attack without even skipping a beat. Operational continuity and cost efficiency are the another key advantages. So auto isolation minimizes the disruption and helps to avoid the steep recovery costs that often followed by the cyber incidents. Now, well, there are challenges to implement it, of course, right? Compatibility with the legacy systems and cultural acceptance of automation are the very big hurdles to consider, right? But they can definitely address it with the training and smart integration strategies. Looking to the future, advancements in AI and ML, right, will only advancements in AI and ML will only make auto isolation is even more effective. Like techniques like micro-segmentation, right, and context-aware isolation promises even more precision. Uh, we can, which can prevent the disruptions. Auto isolation can help us prevent the disruption from escalating it, and it will closer alignment to auto isolation has the closer alignment with the zero trust policies. If you're looking at the future outlook of the cyber security, that is more autonomous and the dynamic than ever. So so auto isolation is definitely reshaping the cyber security as we know it. With these technologies, organizations can confidently face the evolving threat landscape and and keep their operations and customers safe. So that's the conclusion and the future outlook that we're going to get from this. Okay, let's go to the next slide. The references. Yeah, here are the references that I have followed, to prepare this presentation. You know, okay, I'll go to the next slide. Yep. First of all, I would like to thank you to the security person for giving me this opportunity. I'll take the questions if you guys have any questions now.
Thank you, Srikanth. It was wonderful. I myself learned a lot from your presentation, and I'm sure our audience have also, enjoyed your session. It's been very informative, and very detailed oriented, which is very good.
Thank you.
Uh, and thank you for coming into the show. So there are a couple of questions I have. One is
Sure.
regarding the implementation of this. So
Mhm.
in your view, so we see like normally, like in this day and age, we are more using a cloud native architecture, where we have like microservices, where we have different,
Hmm.
like segmentation already been done as part of the architecture. So
Okay.
where do you think, if anybody wants to optimize network segmentation using, the policies and the controls like which you have explained, what is the optimum approach that somebody can take in order to implement this in the cloud native architecture?
Sure. Yeah. In any architecture, right? Especially in the cloud native architecture, the biggest thing is like say, keeping the network like network separate for like uh, each each environments, like if you have on-premise environment, if you have the cloud environment, and if you have the uh, nowadays, like if you have the hybrid environment, right? Nowadays, like people are preferring the hybrid because of the more because of the more flexibility we get with the hybrid approach, because even if something goes wrong with like specific cloud services, we have the backup is up and running here, right? So adopting the microservices approach, especially like deploying the applications on the Docker containers, like grouping them together by using the Kubernetes clusters, it will definitely helps us like keep the uh, you know keep the network secure, and if in case to bring down the particular piece of the network segment during the particular time, even though Kubernetes has the flexibility to bring up the another container and keep up and running, like that will definitely help, like if you adapt the microservices architecture, like uh, to keep our business and operational continuity up and running.
Got it. Makes sense. Uh, and as a follow-up, so when we go about implementing these architecture and these
Mhm.
controls, uh, how much do you think would be an impact on the performance of the applications? By if you have, for example, if you are, using EKS or any other platform like for containers, and if you are segmenting the pods, for example, like the control plane into different segment, user plane into different segment, and then further micro segmenting it based on the pod and the container levels. So how much do you think in terms of networking, how much would there be an impact?
Yeah, especially when you say like EKS, right? Like in the cloud architectures, right? We have done the POCs, like especially with the different clouds environment, like so it's pretty proactive, like it's even a lot easier when you compare with the on-premises environment, because in especially we have the flexibility with the provisioning the infrastructure, and like by using these all the latest infrastructure provisioning tools. So I would say it's a lot easier when you compare with on-premises environment, because the flexibility we get nowadays, we have a lot of provisioning tools like Terraform that can quickly isolate the network, and it can provision even like a similar infrastructure, and can deploy the application in the next few seconds. So in my view, it's a lot easier when you compare with on-premises environment by using by implementing this auto
So
isolation feature further.
yeah, so what you're saying is basically, there will be minimum impact on the underlying application if you go with this design. Is this what you're saying? Yeah.
That is correct. When you compare with on-premises environment, there will be very minimal impact for the cloud environments.
Got it. And you also spoken about machine learning in this network segmentation. So for anybody of us listening this show and hearing you see speaking about machine learning and network segmentation. So what is the for anybody who wants to get to that level, and develop the understanding and develop and understand the controls, what resources you think would be helpful for them to keep themselves up to date and to see some use cases with like machine learning? So
Okay. So I would say, like I'll give the one simple example, like like every organizations might be already using this, right? Like we know the SIM, right? We can take the SIM, in the SIM, right? We have a lot of data, like where a SIM, like for example, if you take the Splunk as an example, that itself is actually coming up with a lot of the lot of machine learning algorithms, like they have the vast amount of data. They continuously process. They recently, like implemented, especially with the cloud future, they implemented a lot of new algorithms where it can learn from the everyday, like new data, like by looking at the logs, right? By looking at the logs and the user behaviors, and especially by following those analytics, right? So it's becoming better, like every day with the different tools that we have available in the market. So just they just need to configure them right, like if you take Splunk as an example, Splunk has the capability to alert, like it can even you know uh, show the overall security posture of your network, right? So using these tools efficiently is definitely matter here, because oftentimes we don't use the tools for full potential. So especially, like applying all these data models, like getting the information from different systems, and keeping it using the right algorithms to show the data will definitely help the
Got it. Got it. And is there any specific LLMs that you would suggest in this use case, which would be beneficial for our security folks to design this solution?
Yeah, I mean, I have the few recommendations where I can share after this presentation. Yep, I can definitely do that.
Sure. Thank you, Shrikant. I mean, it's been very helpful and very insightful. I wish you all the best in your career. And anybody who wants to connect to Shrikant, he's available on LinkedIn, and he's very responsive. So please reach out to him if you have any further queries or any follow up question which you want to ask. With this, we have reached like the end of our like webinar series. And until next time, stay secure, stay safe, and keep following us. And just be resilient to whatever you are doing. I know, like, security overall is a very sensitive topic for a lot of organizations, and just try to find a good business use case as you are architecting your solution. Because you with security, it comes, you have to like get proper funding, and you have to get proper resources, and if you don't have any practical use case and practical like risk management framework, then it will be difficult for you to convince your management to fund your project. So this is all from my side and from Security Pulse. Until next time, like, take care of yourself. All the best. Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.